welcome to the Roundtable. Well, today we have a very interesting topic, a topic that is, little out of sync with our normal political debates, but I do think it is a topic that we do need to discuss, which is why I'm bringing it to the table literally. We're discussing the high rate of GST on horse racing. 28% has been levied on it. Clearly, they consider this as a sin tax. I have with me a panel that is going to put their point of view of horse breeders and those who are involved in the trade. They're going to tell us why they think it is not a sin tax, why they think it is essential, the ancillary industries, the ancillary employment that this trade gives, and also what is the future of it. Can we actually hope for an IPL in horse racing? That's something I think we're all going to be looking forward to if that happens. So joining me on the panel today is Dr. Muthaiah. We all know him from his IPL days. He's also the former BCCI chief, and he's the former chairman of the Madras Race Club and the Turf Authority of India. He's been a racehorse owner since 1977 and won many classics, but also interestingly, he's a keen horseman and a polo player himself. So welcome to the roundtable, Dr. Muthaiah. And we have Milan Luthria. We all know him as his avatar as a filmmaker. His 2 decades career has got a lot of Hollywood landmark films. Began in 1999 with Kache Dhage, now with Kacha Dhaga, and now his other hits include Dirty Picture and Once Upon a Time in Mumbai. He's also currently directing a remake of the film RX 100. But more than that, I think he's a committee member of the Royal Western India Turf Club. He's a team polo player, and he's been riding since he was 15. And he bought his first racehorse in 2010. I think that's really when the bug must have bitten him. We have Dr. Mirza. He is the official vet for the Federation of Equestrian International. That's the governing body of the equestrian sport worldwide. He's a consultant for Royal Calcutta Turf Club, and he's also a stud farm owner and consultant to several individual owners. Finally, we have Ameeta, Mehra, some person who I think gets the credit for putting this show together. She is a leading horse breeder, and she's a hands-on owner of the Usha stud farms. She's also the only woman breeder in the company and an accomplished horsewoman herself. Usha Stud Farms has won 7 national awards for the champion stud farm, and also holds the international record for breeding 13 Indian Derby winners. So welcome all of you to this show. And as I said, the topic on the table is really, why should not such a high tax be levied on horse racing? Why is it not a sin tax? Dr. Muthaiah, I'll begin with you first.
Being lover of the sport, I'm saddened to witness the distress the race clubs are facing in this country. I look at racing in a different angle. It is no doubt a game of skill, as has also been declared by the Supreme Court of India. Now, what does racing do to the agricultural economy? This is very important. We have to look at it from that angle. It gives an employment for over 10 lakhs rural labor right now. And apart from producing on a large scale agri-produces such as fodder, etc. Now, the other point I want to mention here is racing is about 150 years old. And when we were under the colonial rule, racing was encouraged by the British so that their agricultural economy will boom. That was what is happening. All the breeding centers were only in England and Ireland, and all the rich and the Maharajas and the rich used to go and buy horses from their livestock and come and race here. And that was giving a big boost to their own agricultural economy. After just before independence, there was only one center in India which has gone to Pakistan after partition. There were no breeding centers at all. But after independence, slowly breeding centers started in India. And now we have large breeding centers comparable to what is there in England or Ireland. We have centers in Haryana, Punjab, Pune, Karnataka, and so on. Just to tell you an example, the total revenue which was being generated was about 3,400 crores. And the tax which was being levied at that time was about 349 crores or so. Now it has come down to almost 200 odd crores and will go down further. And what is happening? The illegal bookmaking, illegal betting is flourishing.
So
Not
they will
that,
get the benefit.
not that the revenue is not there, but and then the economy is going down. The agriculture economy is going down. Breeding farms will have to shut, and ultimately racing itself will go out of.
Okay, let me bring in the others also. Ameeta, there is a 96 Supreme Court judgment that says that unlike other betting, horse racing is also a game of skill, because you have to know the horse, you have to know, you do your homework really before you place your bet. So can you further explain your case as to, and add to what Dr. Muthaiah has said?
Sure. Horse racing involves, as Dr. Muthaiah pointed out, a large group of people from both the rural, semi-skilled, and skilled professional middle class sector. The professionals, the trainers, the jockeys, the riders, the grooms who look after the horses, and the labor. And I have to add one point that, horse racing and the horse industry as a whole, whether it's the stud farms or the racing centers, all the equestrian centers, all of the horse industry employs migrant labor from different parts of India. Okay. And we see today in this terrible crisis of COVID that only industry in India that has not disbanded its labor and has not sent it home without wages, walking on roads, is the horse industry. I think it's something that the government needs to take note of, and every single citizen of this country. We have 75,000 people employed in the rural, from semi-skilled rural sectors in different parts of India. Their wages are not daily wages. They have come from illiterate rural backgrounds without any skill. They come to us, we teach them, we skill them, they look after the horses, they become farriers, they become compounders, they become saises, they become foremen, and then they get big salaries, they get gratuity, they get provident fund. We also shelter them in our race courses and in our stud farms. Now, if the government wants to shut us down by so-called sin tax, I don't know what sin we've committed, is employing a huge rural sector of people and giving the middle class and lower middle class and poor employment a sin? If it is, shut us down. We are going to soon become an extinct species like the Banaras weavers unless the government understands and sympathizes with this industry. I am a stud farm owner and breeder. I have people, families who live on my farm. They're not just the men, it's the women, it's the children. We send them to schools. The women work in the fields and they grow the agricultural produce. The men work with the horses. And I must tell you this, that in this whole period of 3.5 months, not one person from my farms has gone home. Not one person's salary has been even cut 5%. I'm told the construction industry, every migrant labor has been sent home and said, sorry, we don't have jobs, get lost. Not the horse industry. Not a single person in any race course has gone home. And we've been paying full wages. Now, why are we doing that? You must understand. This is an animal-based industry. Horses are not machines. They can't be shut off at 6 p.m. and said, hello, now we'll come back tomorrow. There is a ratio, man to horse ratio, 1 to 3. That means one man looks after 3 horses. Now you can imagine that if the government were not only to support, but promote this industry, what a colossal job opportunity and skill opportunity it would give to the rural youth of India. Secondly, look at the export potential of this industry. Ireland, a small, minuscule country, I have to tell you these numbers. Ireland generates an annual revenue of $2 billion, which it gives to and adds to 10% of the GDP in Ireland. India, that is 4 times that of India. And Ireland is like a small state, even a smaller state than India is. Secondly, the US generates 100 billion US dollars in revenue. And look at the export potential of India. Do you know, Priya, that we are the only breeding country surrounded by SAARC countries? There is no breeding in Hong Kong. And there's a massive racing center worth billions of dollars there. There is no breeding stud farm in what should I say, Macau, in Malaysia, in Singapore. Where do they buy their horses from? Right now, they'll go to Australia, spend all their dollars buying there. Why can't they come to India? We have some of the finest thoroughbreds. It is only because we do not have the support of our government. And I think right now the government is aware that this industry is in a crisis and is looking to make a change in the GST taxation. Should that happen, should revenues come back into this industry, who will benefit? It will be first the government, because the government runs the tote. The government and the clubs are only sporting clubs. They are not profit-making entities. They give back the prize money to the winners of the races, and the rest goes to the government. They take a 10% commission just to run the operation. Now, is that fair or not? I'm asking.
Well, I think you've argued your case really well over here. Milan, to bring you in on this, this whole concept of, especially, seeing racing as a sin tax. Now, you are in an industry that has also been damn more than it has been appreciated. So, make your case as to why horse racing is not seen the same light.
Well, I'll give the conversation a slightly different color. For many years, if you recall, the film industry was struggling to be recognized as an industry. All they were seeing was some fancy cars that were driven by the top end of the business. What they were not seeing was the number of people that were being employed, looked after, whether in movie sets or in studios or in cinemas across the country.
Exactly.
But we repeatedly presented our case, and we eventually got through. And today, since the last few years, we have actually gotten things like bank loans, insurance. We've got proper corporate practices. Black money has vanished from the industry because, sensing the support of the government, you had studios like 20th Century Fox, Sony, Viacom, Paramount, Universal. These kind of companies came to put money into Indian films. And today, there's no question of anybody paying even a rupee which is not paid by check. So, we all pay our taxes. Some of our individuals are the highest taxpayers year after year after year. It's because the government one day stood up and heard our voice. And as a race goer, as an owner, as a member of a managing committee or a member of the fraternity, I feel that somehow the perception is wrong. The perception of racing, they're only seeing a small percentage of it. There's been sort of Chinese whispers going on for a long time. Gambling is illegal, things like that. But, racing is a winner's game. Ameeta will tell you she's won more races than she's bred more horses to win than anybody else. It's a winner's game. It's not a loser's game. It's the winners who survive. It's the winners who make it. Dr. Muthaiah will bear me out that and also this perception that there's something wrong with it. It's already changing. You have rummy being played online. You have poker being online. You have Dream 11 being played online. So I think as an industry, we are, I would say, in a sort of positive way, that I hope we are at the threshold of having our voice heard. And as Ameeta said, the last 3 months, we had 760 men, Priya, in Mumbai racecourse. They could not go out to get their food. They needed to send money to their families back in their villages. We paid all 760 men their full salary, and we gave them 2 meals a day from our pockets. We did not let them spend on their own food, so that more money could go back to their villages. Today, I have single-handedly transported those 760 men to Pune. They're all healthy. They're all fine. Their temperatures are being checked every 2 days. They've been given, comfortable accommodation, food once again. So, we are an industry that takes care of our own. And, just want to make another small point that once this perception changes,
Hmm.
what you're looking at is 9 wonderful open spaces in 9 of the biggest cities in India, where there is no place to go, no outdoor activities. So, and if this gets a little bit of a push from the government at a time when we are all putting our hands in our own pockets to help our own,
Hmm.
we will go a long way.
Well done, and you've done a lot already. Dr. Mirza, to take from what Ameeta has said in terms of the export potential, in this India as a breeding ground for horses, and the fact that we can export to other countries also. I would like you to comment on that part.
The thing is that, in India, you have a lot of space, so you can have big farms. Albeit there are land restrictions, etc. But I'm sure that, there are, certain states don't have those land restrictions. And you can have big farms. You have the weather. You have an adequate supply of, abundant sort of fodder, easily available, and you have sort of people who have been connected with horses, and the what do I say, the workforce has been associated with horses for sometimes for generations. So you have a knowledgeable workforce. You have the land. You have the fodder available, and now you are in a center. You are in the middle of 6 or 7 countries where who don't breed horses. So it's an ideal sort of opportunity to be able to export horses from here. So I think that it's a big thing that if we will be able to export horses, and steps are being taken into that sort of direction, and it is possible to export horses from here because you are breeding good horses.
Why has this not happened so fast? Because of government rules or some other reason?
There was an outbreak of African horse sickness in 1962. 1962, and subsequently we never cleared this with the OIE, which is the organization which handles worldwide epizoonosis. So we never cleared this with them. So people who attended the OIE meetings did not bring up the subject that India doesn't have African horse sickness. Nobody was aware that India had horses at all. They only went there, whether they went to speak about the cows or they went to speak about the sheep and goats and other animals, nobody mentioned horses. So for a long time, this was not brought up. Till now, in the last maybe 10 years, we've made the effort of testing all horses, supplied the OIE with all the necessary information, and taken steps in the last 1 year to try and see if we can export them.
Okay.
Yeah, add one point on your question. Next year, we are planning to host, the turf authorities and the clubs are getting together. We're hoping to host an international carnival of racing. You began your show with asking, will there be an IPL?
Yes, that was going to be my next question.
Yes, we hope there will be an IPL of this kind in India, where we can showcase our racehorses. We can invite the countries, which are SAARC countries, to bring their horses into our country. We have just got a compartmental kind of, we've done a lot of work with the animal husbandry department, and they have cleared that if you make compartments into race courses and stud farms, you can export and import horses. So this is just starting. It's going to happen. I think Made in India is going to be a very important theme for race horses. You won't believe it, but it's
and all the right buzzwords, Ameeta. I must say that.
but also, as far as exports are concerned, and there's Dubai is very close by. Sheikh Mohammed has been putting millions and trillions of dollars into Ireland and in England, and he met us when we went to the Dubai World Cup of Racing and said, why don't you let me invest in India and bring my stallions, invest in the stud farms, get in better stock. Why can't I buy horses from India to race in Dubai? Question. Qatar racing, there's racing in Malaysia, in Korea. I mean, they're all next to us. And here we are with a 150-year-old establishment breeding and racing. And because of very high import duties, what is one of the issues we face, which the government has now reduced. So we will be encouraged to bring in racing stock and breeding stock, sorry. I think we're on the threshold of change. The only thing stopping us, Priya, is a GST tax, which is very high and being called a sin industry, which is absolutely not okay.
Okay. Dr. Muthaiah, will you come in on the future of, horse racing in IPL, whatever you're going to be calling that one?
Yes, Ameeta and Hasnain said, there's a tremendous export potential. I think we should capture that. And this sin tax or whatever tax you call it is putting us back. It's a small correction is what we needed, and it can generate a lot of income, lot of employment, lot of agriculture economy. It will boost the agriculture economy. So why can't the government think of this? They have to apply their mind and see what is the problem. Globally, they only charge on the service. The VAT is charged on the service, not on the gross income. So I would like to draw the attention of the PMO that they should look at it again, apply their mind, and there is a huge potential in this horse breeding, horse racing, and so on. This is my point.
And has the income from horse racing that the government would get in terms of taxes decreased after this GST hike, or has it increased after the GST hike?
It has decreased.
It has decreased.
Decreased
Substantially.
Tremendously. It has come down from a figure of 349 to about 249 crores in taxes. It might even go down further the way things are going, and if the race club shut, and then it becomes zero. So I think somebody should apply their mind and see what is the potential behind it. There's tremendous potential, both on exports, on agriculture economy, rural labor, and as rightly Ameeta put it, the migrant labor, only industry which has been saving the migrant labor has been the racing industry. They've kept them there, they've fed them, they've also looked after them, sheltered them. And they've not been deprivated, they've not been sent away like the construction labor. So I think these are some of the points which the government should mull over and take a good view on it.
And
I'd like to add something here, Richa. Sorry, Priya. So the thing is that I was talking to a market research agency to try and conduct a survey to bring in more people into race courses. And the first thing the managing director told me was that, would you have thought 5 years ago that kabaddi would be as big as it is today? You've got sponsors, you've got live telecast, you've got people have got their favorite teams, their favorite players, and this was a game very few even knew about. I mean, one can understand cricket or hockey or football, but not kabaddi. So I mean, looking at the potential, just imagine taking racing to that level. It has potential of it's a very exciting viewer sport. It has in the place where it is run, there is tremendous scope for outcreation. As a population, as a country, what are we gravitating towards? We are going towards malls and computers. Whereas I would think that you would want the youth to go towards the outdoors, to be closer to animals, to breathe the open air, to feel the rush of blood when a horse is galloping at 70 kilometers an hour. So, some of those things also come into play here, where this is an industry all over the world which has been, which has given people so much pleasure. So I just feel that just as it could happen to a 5-year-old industry like kabaddi, which was not an established sport, horse racing with so much infrastructure, so many people, so many industrialists at the helm wanting to take it forward. I mean, as once the gates open, it'll just be a different ball game.
Maybe that's the wrong optics, the industrialists at the helm, because we tend to suspect what the industrialists are doing. in the recent times. But Dr. Mirza, a final word, what the naysayers may say also is cruelty to animals. That's something that might come up also. Would you, how would you rebut that charge if it comes up?
Well, I think the racehorse is a very, very well looked after animal. I mean, there isn't any cruelty that's involved. They've got air cushion whips for the last. India was the first country to use air cushion whips. There's a strict whip rule that you can't whip a horse more than a certain number of times. There are rules, there are races in which there are no whips allowed. So we are gravitating towards improving the viewership of this sport, as it's not a cruel sport. You have horses are really very well looked after. I mean, they look better looked after than certain people itself. I mean, because there's nothing in the day of a life of a horse that is once or not sort of sorted. His diet is there, his exercise is there. He's got one person maybe one person looks after 2 or 3 horses, but still, he's got somebody to look after him. And they are well looked after. The shoeing is of standard, the veterinary care is of standard. So I don't think there's any cruelty issue here. If at all there was a cruelty issue, then it would be with the use of a whip in a race, but even that's being regulated very strictly. And one thing I'd like to say is there's a misconception that this is a rich man's sport. It's not. The rich man is paying for the sport, but actually it's enjoyed by, by the poor man, or the less fortunate man, or the man who just enjoys racing. And he is also sort of funding so many people they're looking after he's paying for the labor. So the rich man is not really making money in this. In fact, most of the time he's losing, because the horse owners very rarely make money at the end of the day. They lose a lot of money, but it's just that their passion for the sport keeps them in the game. And obviously there will be a point when you don't get enough returns. His returns are going to be much lower than what he's getting now. Then he's going to sort of say, I think I will not be able to afford the sport anymore, which is what's going to happen if GST continues at this rate.
Yes, which is exactly why we're having this debate. Ameeta, since you're the one who got us all together, do you have any last words before I end?
Well, my last thoughts on this. I think we have a beautiful industry. We are involved in an industry that's ecologically sensitive to nature, to animals, and looks after the welfare of animals and actually of people. I think this is an industry that needs to be looked more closely into, and some of the stigma attached to it needs to be put aside, and one needs to go deeper into the real value and potential of this industry to contribute to India's economy and to put up the Indian flag of breeding and horse racing in the world. We can be the best. We have the potential. We need a little bit of promotion and support, and we'll be there.
Well, as you can see, a case has been made very passionately and emphatically by some against the raising of GST, against also seeing horse racing as a sin. Why is everything that we have fun is regarded as a sin, especially as they've argued they can also raise revenue and help others at the end of the day. The people here are actually in love with it. It's here that it's a passion really that is driving most of our panelists forward. And I suspect a whole lot of other people in the industry also. So let's not give everybody a bad name. Let's at least hear their side of the story, which is why we had this panel here today. They've made their case. Now, of course, we leave it to the finance minister and the government to see what they make of this. But thank you so much, all of you, for coming here today and also for watching this show. Thank you so much.
For more such videos, subscribe to the NewsX YouTube channel, hit the bell icon.